Welcome to the Art of Badassery, where spiritual depth meets unapologetic power. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, success alchemist and coach for high-achieving women who are done performing and ready to reclaim every part of themselves. Here, we dive into raw truths, bold mindset shifts, and of course, the inner alchemy of the Trinity transformation, your shadow queen, inner critic, and divine guide, all getting a seat at the damn table. This isn't personal development, this is personal liberation. So let's jump in. Welcome back to the Art of Badassery, the podcast where we strip away the BS, speak soul truth, and own every wild, wounded, and wise part of ourselves. I'm Mahara Wayman, your host, and today's the final episode in our solo series titled The Trinity Within. 3 episodes, 3 archetypes. Your shadow queen, your inner critic, your divine guide. These aren't just poetic archetypes, they're living, breathing forces inside you. And they're also the foundation of my upcoming mini mastermind, the Trinity Transformation. In our previous episodes, we met the Shadow Queen, the fierce, fiery force that demands truth and sovereignty, and the inner critic, the quiet saboteur mastering as your protector. Today, we turn our gaze to the divine guide. So, let's talk about the third voice in your Trinity, your divine guide. She's not loud. She's not flashy. She doesn't elbow her way into the room like the Shadow Queen, and she's definitely not playing mind games like the inner critic. She's your inner compass, your soul whisperer. She's that still, clear part of you that just knows who you are, knows what you're meant to be doing, even if you've forgotten, knows the path, even when your logical brain is throwing up red flags like, what the heck? This doesn't make any sense. Or what if we fail? Your divine guide doesn't need to make sense. I know, right? Shocking. She's not here for spreadsheets and step-by-step plans. She's here for truth, for alignment, for deep, sacred yeses that bypass the mind and land straight in your bones. Are you ready? Well, here's the challenge. We live in a world that's really freaking loud, right? A world that constantly is telling you who to be, how to act, what you want. You're being bombarded with messages all the time. Scroll this, buy that, hustle harder, be likable, don't age, don't slow down, don't go too fast, be better. And in all of that noise, it's really easy for her voice to get drowned out. Because the divine guide doesn't yell. She doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't compete. She waits. She's patient, calm, and oh so wise. And if you're like most women, you've heard her before, probably dozens of times. You just might not have known it was her. Okay, so now that we've cleared some space, let's meet her. Let's invite her forward. You don't have to do anything fancy. You don't need incense or a full moon or crystals lined up in the perfect grid. You just need to be here, present, open, receptive. So take a breath with me. Let's inhale and exhale. Now, if you were to drop into your body right here, right now, and ask, who is the part of me that knows? Who is the one who trusts even when I don't have the full plan? What would she say to me today? Well, that's her. So let's give her the mic. Let her speak, not from performance, not from perfection, but from pure presence. Hey, I've been here the whole time, even when things felt confusing. Even when you weren't sure who to trust, even when you weren't sure you could trust yourself. I know it's been loud out there, so many opinions, so much pressure, all that bloody noise pulling you in 1,000 directions. But I'm not here to compete with that. I'm really not. I'm here to remind you who you are beneath the noise. You didn't mess up. You didn't miss out. I don't vanish when you get off track. I wait, I watch, and I whisper. I speak in subtle ways. It's really important that you know that. in the way your stomach knots when something's off, in the goosebumps that kind of rise on your arms when truth walks in the relief you feel after saying a long overdue no. Yeah, that's me. That's always been me. And I'm not here to push you. I'm here to walk alongside you. I don't deal in deadlines. I work in divine timing. You won't always understand the timing, and that's okay, but you'll always feel the alignment of that timing. That soft certainty, yeah, that's me too. Sometimes I show up in dreams, sometimes in synchronicity, sometimes in the book you randomly picked up, but more often I'm the voice you hear just before you override it with logic. I'm the part of you that already knows and doesn't need to justify it. So if you want to hear me more clearly, this is what you need to do. Just slow down, sweetheart. Not forever, just for a moment. Let yourself be still long enough to notice the knowing that's already rising in you. Stop looking for signs from the outside. The sign is you. The moment you ask, I answer. I know, it's awesome. And no, you don't need to be perfect to hear me. I hate that word. You don't need to be more spiritual, more held, more healed, more anything. Really, you just need to be present enough to listen, honest enough to admit what you already know, and brave enough to act on it. Yeah, because your path isn't about proving yourself. It's about remembering yourself. You don't need a full map, right? You just need a moment of trust, one moment. The next step will appear when you stop gripping the entire staircase. And when the inner critic gets really loud, when she says, you're not ready, I'll still be here, saying gently, but what if you are ready? What if? You're not too late. You're right on time. Your power doesn't live in perfection. It lives in presence. I wonder, God, that's so good. I think I'm going to repeat it for you all. Your power doesn't live in your efforts to be perfect. It lives in your efforts to be present. So when you're ready to come back to yourself, I'll be right here. I always have been, and I always will be. Okay, so let's talk about how we actually reconnect with her. How do we hear that voice, the one that's calm, grounded, and real, when life is so loud and overwhelming? Okay, well, as she said, we slow down. We create a little breathing room. We stop trying to push through and just pause. It's funny, it sounds like some advice that my editor has given me for the book I'm working on. Allow the story to breathe. So I'm going to say this again. We pause. We give ourselves a moment to breathe, because it doesn't have to be a whole ritual, right? Sometimes it's just closing your eyes for a minute before saying yes. Sometimes it's putting your phone down and asking, what do I want right now? That's how her voice comes through, folks, not with flashing lights or a 5-step plan, but in the stillness, in the honesty, brutal honesty sometimes. And then, and this is the hard part, I know, we're invited to trust it, even if it feels unfamiliar, even if it doesn't make logical sense, because quite often, as spiritual beings having a human existence, the human part of us can't understand the sense of the spiritual part of us. But this is our opportunity, right? Even if no one else gets it. Okay, let's talk about trust and love, friends. Not the kind you've been taught, the perform for it, prove you're worthy kind. I'm talking about the kind that lives in your bones, the kind that says, I don't have all the answers, but I know this is mine. I get it. Trusting me can feel really risky, because I ask you to leap without a safety net, to choose alignment over approval, to honor energy over logic. But what you're going to find, if you really, really follow me, is that life meets you in the mystery. You won't always get applause. You won't always get confirmation from the outside. But you will get peace. You will get power. You will get clarity that doesn't shake when the world does. And I'm not asking you to burn it all down. Sometimes I'll just nudge you to rest instead of hustle. Sometimes I will whisper, wait, when your ego screams, go. Sometimes I'll say, it's time, even when you don't feel ready. But I promise you, if you honor what you feel over what you fear, you'll become the version of you that doesn't chase purpose. She embodies it. So don't just listen, respond. Don't just sense me, follow. That's how you build trust. Not by never doubting, but by choosing to move anyway. You are your own sacred guide. I'm just the part of you that remembers that. All right, let's just take a moment. Just you, your breath, and your truth. If you can, close your eyes. Let's take a slow inhale and a very, very gentle exhale. Now, I want you to think back to a moment when you knew something. Not because someone told you, not because it was logical, but because deep down, it just felt right. Maybe you walked away from a job. Maybe you said yes to something that really scared the hell out of you. Maybe you left a relationship or started one. Even if it didn't make sense at the time, you knew. That knowing, that was her. Yeah. So now ask yourself, when do I feel most connected to my intuition? What helps me hear that quiet voice inside? Where in my life am I currently not listening? And here's the key. Don't judge your answers. Don't judge yourself. Just notice and be honest. Sometimes reconnecting with your divine guide is less about doing more and more about unlearning everything that told you not to trust yourself. Do you see where I'm going with this? Okay, let's take another breath and just listen. You don't need to force anything. Your knowing hasn't gone anywhere. She's still here. And when you're ready, she'll show up and show you the way forward. Okay, folks, before we part ways for now, as Mahara's divine guide, I want to leave you with this. You don't need to hustle for your worth. You don't need to audition for alignment. You don't need to be more of anything to walk in your truth. You are already whole, already worthy, already equipped with everything you need to live as the fullest expression of your soul. So, the next time the world gets loud, come back to the quiet. The next time you feel lost, put your hand on your heart and ask, what do I already know? Tell me. And when you doubt, because you will, right? You're human. Remember this. Doubt is not disconnection. Okay? It's the space between your fear and your truth. Walk through it, because I'll meet you on the other side. Keep listening. Keep honoring. And when you forget, just come back. I'll still be here. Okay, so here's what we actually dive into in week 3 of Trinity Transformation, the week of the Divine Guide. This is where things start to feel more grounded, more aligned, and a whole lot clearer. We start by learning how to recognize her voice, even in the middle of the noise. Because let's be honest, life doesn't always quiet down just because we're trying to listen to our intuition, does it? So we get curious. What does your divine guide actually sound like? How does she communicate with you? What does her yes feel like in your body? What does her no feel like? Also very important to know. And once you start noticing that voice, the next piece is learning to trust it. And that's the real work. Trusting her doesn't always feel comfortable. I know, been there, done that. Sometimes it means doing things differently, way differently. Slowing down, saying no, taking a leap when you don't even have the details. But when you follow that guidance, even imperfectly, things do begin to shift. Then we bring it all into action, because it's one thing to know your truth. It's another thing to actually live it. That's where the power is, when your choices reflect your knowing, when your boundaries match your values, when your energy lines up with what you say that you want. That's what we practice in week 3, alignment, embodiment, and moving with integrity. This week isn't about waiting for a sign or someone else's opinion. It's about remembering that the answers you've been chasing, you've had them all along. And when you move from that place, when your decisions are rooted in self-trust instead of fear or pressure, everything changes. You don't second guess every step. You stop asking for permission. You don't have to push or prove anymore. You start attracting. You start owning. You start leading. That's the divine guide in action. And that is in week 3, where you remember what it feels like to trust yourself, to follow through, to move like the woman who knows she's aligned. And that version of you, she's magnetic. She's clear. She's unstoppable. That's the version we unlock in week 3 of the Trinity transformation, which is starting soon. And as we wrap up this Trinity Within series, I want you to remember something really important. You are not just one part of yourself. You are a whole being, a Trinity. You are the shadow queen, the bold, raw, honest part of you that is done with playing small. Do you recognize her? You are the inner critic, the part that's been trying to keep you safe, even if it came out sideways. And you are the divine guide, the wise, calm voice that always knows the way home. Each part of you holds something sacred. Each one carries wisdom. Each one deserves to be seen, heard, and honored, because integration is the key. We are not here to silence those parts or to cut them out. Instead, we're here to bring them together, to let them take their rightful place in your inner council. When you do that, when you stop fighting yourself and start working with yourself, something shifts, and it's so amazing. You move differently. You speak more clearly. You lead with presence and power. You rise. You reclaim. You reign. And that, my friends, is what Trinity Transformation is here to support you with. 3 weeks, 3 workshops, 1 sacred invitation to return to yourself. If you're feeling the pull, if something in you is saying, ooh, baby, I think this is what I need, then trust that, because you already know. The link is in the show notes. Doors are open, and I would love to walk this journey with you. Here's to the wholeness that you're reclaiming. Here's to the badassery that you're embodying. Here's to you. If this episode lit a fire in your soul or smacked you with some needed truth, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, and share it with another badass who's ready to rise. And if you're done second-guessing your intuition and want some clarity that cuts through the noise, book your free intuitive strategy reading with me now. No fluff, I promise, no BS, just soul-deep insight to help you move forward with power. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and for the love of God, stay badass.